He's here!
Cyrano?
Cyrano.
Pleasure to meet you, Cyrano de Bergerac.
Cyrano is my oldest friend.
It would be to your advantage to end the friendship.
I accept your challenge. Erica Schmidt, the writer, who was commissioned to do an adaptation of Cyrano by Rostand.
It was to be a musical, and I cast Haley Bennett as Roxanne and Peter Dinklage as Cyrano. And we did the show, and Joe Wright came and saw it.
I saw a workshop production at the Goodspeed Theatre in Connecticut. I've always loved the play.
And I guess it spoke to me in terms of it being a story about feeling worthy of love.
Joe approached Erica, and we just thought, having seen Joe's films, that it made perfect sense.
Joe had previously directed some incredible love stories and adaptations, Pride and Prejudice, Atonement, and I thought he would bring incredible vision if it were to be made into a film. And so Erica and Joe worked for 2 years on the script.
The stars sort of aligned because Joe, as well, is such a romantic, and he loves movies. They just live and breathe his love of movies and his love of love.
This is such a beloved story and has been told many, many times over the years. With Joe, I think that he wanted to bring a kind of originality and an emotional life to all of the characters that I don't think we've seen before.
Joe's a rare bird. Well, he lives and breathes cinema. I've never met anybody like that who he wears it right here. And that is what the characters in Cyrano do as well.
Say what you feel. As long as it's true, you can't go wrong.
I tried to create as full a cinematic experience as possible.
How many men did you duel with last night?
100,
Really?
10.
You forget, I've seen you in battle. You're a fighter to the end. But in love, you've raised the white flag.
Cyrano is about a character called Cyrano de Bergerac. He's a master swordsman and a wordsmith. And he is desperately in love with Roxanne, a local beauty. But he doesn't believe that she could ever love him back because of the way he appears.
Freak.
Is that it? Have you exhausted your dictionary of scorn?
I love the Rostand, but you always see very handsome actor wear a large fake nose. I really wanted to do a Cyrano with no nose. And I felt like there was something else underneath that I was really interested in, how we all feel like we're not worthy of love.
There's a sense of humor about himself at the same time. But his Achilles heel is this thing with Roxanne and how he doesn't really fully believe he can be loved by her.
My sole purpose on this earth is to love Roxanne.
You should tell her.
No, my fate is to love her from afar.
She looks at him as a very, very good friend that she can trust and rely on. And he loves Roxanne for more than just her beauty, which is not an experience that she is accustomed to.
A woman like Roxanne wants wit, romance, poetry.
You're right. You better leave town.
So Cyrano's brilliant plan to win Roxanne over is to get Christian to send letters that he's written to her. These are letters from his heart, his mind, his soul.
I will make you eloquent, while you make me handsome.
And I thought it has everything in common with what we live in today. You can pretend to be somebody you're not on the internet. Basically, that's what Cyrano was doing with Christian to get Roxanne's love. He was setting up a false profile of himself.
It's fascinating. You're exact opposites in style. Christian is passionate. You are coded.
The love triangle between Cyrano, Christian, and Roxanne is probably one of the original love triangles. And this one is just as exciting, just as classy, just as funny, and just as heartbreaking.
These characters, love tortures them, but it's not cynical. It's a real throwback to a real heart on your sleeve sort of feeling that I think people still go to the movies for.
You spied on us?
I couldn't resist.
Cyrano is a flawed hero, and it's a pride that stops him being able to exclaim his love for Roxanne.
He's this lovable, charismatic, exciting guy. It's fun to watch him go on that journey to fight for these people he cares about and fight for his own love and his own pride.
Do you want me to swallow insults? To crawl, to kneel, to beg? Play both sides, flatter? No, thank you.
The casting of Pete in the role of Cyrano modernizes it immediately.
Peter has a kind of innate, self-deprecating, dry wit.
Sometimes illusion is kind. Is it? I think so. Read a book or two, you'll find out.
He's really, really good with words.
What is a kiss? Is it a vow, a promise, a confession, a moment of eternity, a communion, a heartbeat?
And he has a kind of deflective quality that the first time he read the part, I thought he kind of knew who Cyrano was without ever having read it before. There's something kind of at its core that he understood about the man.
I'm not impressed by your swordsmanship.
Oh, I know. Or rather, I know you pretend you're not. Erica originally didn't write it for me and my size. I think the point of it is anybody could play Cyrano. Yes, I do have a built-in difference that I could relate to in terms of feeling less than the person you love or feeling unworthy. But I think what the movie speaks to is everybody knows that feeling.
Peter innately brings a soulfulness and modernity to his character.
Peter plays him with incredible skill and emotional heart. He brings a raw reality to a romantic hero.
I realized that I was in love.
I see.
I am madly in love, but the man in question has no idea. And I don't know how to tell him.
Perhaps he feels the same.
I've never actually spoken to him.
Of your love?
Of anything. It was love at first sight. A thunderbolt, it's madness, fantastical. And yet, it's absolutely real.
Rostand was quite poking fun at Roxanne for being someone that wanted a rich intellectual life. He called Roxanne a precuse, which is kind of a silly woman, kind of precious. I really wanted her to feel like a woman that I recognized in myself and that I thought modern women could also relate to. His words aren't better than yours, just differently put, but both are endlessly quotable.
You know his letters by heart.
Haley brought an amazing emotional truth and intelligence to the role. Everything with Haley is there in her face, and she's an incredibly emotionally open actor.
Speak to me like you do in your letters.
You are a beautiful flower.
I am not a flower.
It's not like acting with her. It just comes from deep within. And she's such a free spirit too, much like Roxanne. You just see her walking around and she lives in her own beautiful universe.
I'm daring to be myself.
Why would you fear to be yourself?
She makes you giggle with her. I love to watch her in scenes with Peter and just seeing that playfulness of the childhood friendship that they had come to life as adults.
Do you remember the day we first met?
It was as if we'd always known each other.
And now we have.
Christian is a young, beautiful man who's a soldier. He grew up poor, and he never was in court or society, so he just doesn't have any experience or interest in the fashion of the time, which is poetry and letters, and he has no game with the ladies.
Roxanne wants a letter from you.
Oh,
No?
impossible. If I write to her, drive her away.
Really, why?
I can't write love letters.
Which is a testament to how good an actor Kelvin is, because he's got game for days.
Christian comes in as a new recruit in the military, and as he's entering, he meets this beautiful woman, Roxanne. He falls in love.
She's told me everything, the theater, love at first sight, all of it.
She loves me.
She believes so.
He's someone that just becomes completely unable to express himself, and I think that that's one of the central themes of this film, and Kelvin played that journey so beautifully.
Don't go, please, wait. My passion has rendered me. What is it?
Stupid.
No, but it does begin with an S.
He just stumbles over his words when he's in love with someone, and he's truly in love with Roxanne too, and who hasn't stumbled over their words with somebody they're enamored with?
That went well.
Kelvin is a major rising star. He is beautiful and he has an incredible singing voice, but he also has an openness and a huge heart.
Calvin brought a quiet intelligence and a humor as well.
Christian, on the surface, can seem like not the brightest bulb, but it's not that at all. He's the only one that pulls the curtain away from this charade that's been taking place, this lie.
We must let her decide our fate. One of us, none of us. She must have the choice.
Though he seems simple on the outside, it's his emotional intelligence that kind of gets him through most of the story. But also, it's the naivete of being young and being innocent and being so pure that kind of makes him a beautiful character.
I'm going to speak to her in my own words.
I strongly advise against that.
And when the moment is right, I'll take her in my arms.
There will be no moment if you don't study these.
They all just really want love. They want to be loved. And everybody's innocent of their part in it. But they are creating a dream for themselves. They're not living in reality.
Dazzle her with your transcendent words.
Yeah.
What is unique about this version of Cyrano to other versions of Cyrano, I would say, is that the love of the written word, the poetry, the magic of art is expressed through the songs.
Original play, it's filled with incredibly long speeches.
The day it was born there.
From the day it was born.
There.
There.
What if all those speeches were songs?
What does it feel like to slow dance in sunlight with someone you love?
The music was composed by Aaron and Bryce Dessner, and there's a kind of modern folk atmosphere to it.
Matt Berninger and his wife, Corinne Besser, they developed the lyrics really very closely tied to the narrative of the story.
In a funny way, I feel like almost all three characters were going through different shades of the same emotional turmoil of confusion and insecurity, and I think we all have those things.
Every letter makes me lose my reason. Every word is like your kindest touch.
Matt and Corinne's lyrics and Aaron and Bryce's driving heartbeat of a song, they're so romantic, but also a bit cynical at the same time, which is what Cyrano is.
I'm not for sale, neither is my work.
Aren't you proud?
Aren't you observant?
The music is really the heartbeat of the piece, and the lyrics are so expressive. It's so beautiful.
Your words fall around me all through the night.
The music feels very much like an extension of where the characters are at, and it has a purpose in the film, not just to sound pretty, but to tell a story.
Your letters are drawings on me from above. I know who you are, and I know you are love.
Possibly the most significant song in the film is a song called Wherever I Fall, which is not sung by one of the principal actors, it's sung by three soldiers. And it's the penultimate song in the movie.
Heaven is wherever I fall.
I think that, heaven is wherever I fall, heaven is what I've made. I think that song in particular has a kind of existential feeling about it.
We orchestrated these songs for the London Contemporary Orchestra at Abbey Road, and that's sort of a dream collaboration for all of us.
Really beautiful, kind of lush score with Vikingur Olafsson, the great Icelandic pianist, is kind of the lead instrument in the score and songs.
Song, I think, can get away with a lot more than we can in conversation. We forgive it more because it's the heartbeat and it's all emotional.
The reason I'm an artist is because I love collaborating, and I think film is where great collaboration is happening, and especially a film like this, which is really in celebration of art and creativity in a very positive way. And so to be at the center of that was a real privilege.
All the music in the movie was recorded live. The actors would have an earpiece in which they'd hear a pre-recorded instrumental track, or sometimes actually the live pianist playing. And then we recorded their singing as they did it on set within the scene.
I try to tell you how much I need you. But I turn and run. It's like live theater. You forgive the scratches. That's part of singing. That's your soul. Your voice isn't as important as what your soul is saying.
'Cause every time I see you, I am overcome.
The show originated on stage, so I think it only makes sense to have some of that energy and that liveliness in the filmmaking.
Haley and Peter and Kelvin, they all have beautiful, powerful voices.
I think Haley Bennett has a very strong presence in the film. There's something very pure about her voice, kind of as a stage actress singing in an early Hollywood film. She can push it to a pop place, or she can have these sort of very pure, almost flute-like tones.
Talk of the blank space behind the sun, where you told me you'd meet me when everyone's gone.
When you're experiencing the music in the theater, it's an actual, like, human experience rather than an actor trying to emulate something that they did in a recording booth. So you really get the sense of the moment and the emotion, the exhaustion, the longing, the sensitivity, the breaths, the nuance of what the character is experiencing.
I need more.
Peter is a stage actor and he's used to singing to the back of the room, but in a film way, because the microphones could be close, he could sing quietly, he could sing softly, he could sing to himself. That was very interesting for him to discover the quieter sides of his voice.
Thank God I had the same register as Matt, baritone. The trick for me was because he's my favorite singer and I didn't want to sound like I was doing an imitation of Matt. So I had to find my own way.
Will you be held? Will you be touched? By my hand through this paper, is this all too much?
Kelvin Harrison Jr. is a phenomenal musician. He really made the songs his own.
He really was the most fun character to write songs for because he's so innocent. Everything is a kind of pure expression of what he's thinking and feeling.
God, what I do to just be able to tell her what it's like when I see her.
Singing live is tough. But there's certain things that you can't do in a studio that you can do on set. When you're sitting there and I'm looking into Peter's eyes and I'm connecting with him, it's so different from standing in front of a mic and singing it.
It was an extremely daunting prospect, but it was important to Joe that the music not feel manufactured. It's something that's coming from your soul rather than just lip singing.
Every letter makes me lose my reason. Every word is like your kindest touch. And if I told you how much I need you, would you give me yourself or turn and run?
And I think that gives the singing a kind of intimacy and humanness that you probably wouldn't get if they were just, lip syncing to playback. It also means you get little kind of faults in the voices as well, a little crack or a little breath or breath in the wrong place. And I feel that makes them, heartbreaking.
Will we be ravaged? Will we be true to somebody perfect, somebody like you?
And I'm glad I did the musical stage versions before the movie because I knew the songs really well. And I think that really helped.
Give me yourself or turn and run. Would you give me yourself or turn and run?
God, what I do to just be able to tell her what it's like when I see her.
I wanted to kind of create a sort of fantasy of a period, especially because of the music being kind of contemporary music.
I'd give anything for someone to say to her that she's all I can think about and I can't live without her.
The choreographer on the movie is a guy called Sidi Labi Shakawi. His choreography is extremely fluid, it's quite modern, and it's incredibly romantic.
I kind of feel like the music and the story itself is timeless. There's something anachronistic about it. It was trying to show how certain stories are from all times.
I'm convinced we're destined to be friends for life.
You think?
We always talk about the choreography being what we are doing as dancers, but the camera is dancing too. And the more I've been working with Joe, the more I've realized how important it is to find a way to have the camera move in relationship to the choreography.
All the actors had to engage in a dance boot camp, Kelvin and Haley in particular, and they spent weeks and weeks rehearsing these dances.
As soon as I got to Sicily, I walked into a rehearsal with all these incredible dancers. You just practice it and you show up to set and you become a professional and you sell it.
I think it's lovely to have a movie where suddenly dance takes over and the dancing actually tells the story or informs the moment. So to have these moments of stillness counteracted by these moments of fluidity is really exciting.
The film was made in a Baroque town in Sicily. Oh God, it was so beautiful. It's the perfect setting for a kind of fantasy. It's a cinematographer's dream.
Seamus McGarvey, the director of photography, and I have worked together on Atonement and then many subsequent films. And so it's a very, very close creative collaboration that we've enjoyed for many years.
If you know Sicily, it's one of the most beautiful places in the world. I loved walking around Noto in the weekends or in the prep time and seeing the bounce of light off these amazing honeyed golden buildings. In particular, the way little corridors or shadowed areas benefited from this lovely bounce light. So that was an education to me that we tried to emulate artificially, but with a nod towards naturalism.
I wanted to have a very Baroque feeling, a kind of outlandish, romantic atmosphere that then kind of breaks down and becomes more simple as the story unfolds.
The location in and of itself is stunning, but the sets just add to it. It makes it so much easier for the performer to step into a space and believe the circumstances when the details are that strong.
Sarah Greenwood and I have worked together for 25 years now, and I think when people talk about a Joe Wright movie, they're actually talking about a Joe Wright and Sarah Greenwood movie. She is integral to my cinematic vision, and she and I are so simpatico now that it's impossible to differentiate between my ideas and hers.
I think a lot of Joe's films, they have a fairy tale, otherworldly quality to them, which I really like, where you push the boundaries.
Sarah's a poet of set design. She works with an extraordinary, slightly off-kilter imagination and is always offering me surprises that I had never dreamt up myself.
Cyrano's entrance in the theatre, very important moment. Joe wanted it to be much more rumbustious, like the Globe is or was in its day. We started looking for all sorts of spaces where we could potentially build a theatre or part of a theatre. At the 11th hour, it was like, well, why don't we build it in this beautiful courtyard of the hotel where all the actors were staying, in this beautiful palazzo.
The sets are so tactile, luscious, and it becomes a playground.
The bakery, Regano's Bakery, is beautiful. Some of the work they did in there, the details. Then you walk into Roxanne's bedroom and it's stunning. Just the colors and the textures. And we have the garrison, which is insane. There's so much detail in the little huts that they're in with the little cots. It's really nice.
The world we created was so complete, and it's a little bit of everything is in there and more.
It's perfectly fetching. I just long to see you in crimson silk.
I couldn't wear that dress.
Oh?
I don't have the shoes to match. Sorry.
Oh, I'll rectify your errant shoelessness.
We did a great deal of research into the wardrobe of the period, and in particular, we were looking at a French painter called Watteau, who has a kind of incredible lightness to his fabrics. That we were also interested in contemporary designers. I'm a huge fan of Alexander McQueen, for instance, and so we wanted to bring some of that modernity into those period costumes. So we created a kind of world that was made of very light fabrics, but that had a kind of deconstructed look that felt more modern. Massimo Cantini Perini is an Italian costume designer, notably was nominated for an Academy Award for his work on Pinocchio.
Cyrano è un militare, quindi con Joe abbiamo pensato di non rispettare i reali colori della Francia, ma siamo andati molto liberi. Abbiamo deciso di fare le divise francesi di un lino pesante naturale, colore cru, con dei bordi rossi, riempiti di bottoni alla giacca, in modo che io potessi staccare e attaccare le cose cambiando il disegno e cambiando il costume stesso in vari modi. Christian è un ragazzo di campagna che arriva in città e che e quindi è vestito con un classico abito settecentesco, però ho voluto, per renderlo più forte, più virile, più maschile, quindi ho fatto una giacca di pelle meravigliosa che sul set volevano indossare tutti.
Joe wanted us to look sharp. Joe wanted us to look handsome. We went with linens and we had these really cool pants. I got to have these sick boots. I just love the texture of the shirts and the fabrics. It's just very, very stylish and very flattering for soldiers. Also very soft at moments too.
Hello.
How did you know I was here?
My costumes were designed by Jacqueline Durand, whose work I so admire. She's incredible and has a really intellectual approach to designing specifically for a character. And they weren't so rigidly period. The dresses all have this really kind of lovely and transparent, floaty fluidity to them and a movement to them. That kind of came from conversations between myself and Joe and Jacqueline about how Roxanne, she always feels like she's in flight and she always feels like she's in motion.
Haley's gowns, they're all just so well done and well made. They're just so beautiful.
I have no intention of marrying anyone. Believe me, spinsterhood is bleak.
And love, does that mean nothing to you?
Children need love. Adults need money.
This is a film that everyone needs to come together to see in a kind of collective way. Between Pete's larger-than-life performance and sets and the music, that communal experience is what we need right now.
It is so stunning. Just the images and the colors, it's breathtaking, it really is. It's like there's certain moments and you're just kind of like, wow, this is cinema.
She loves me! I hope that people see this film and they risk being honest, that people don't miss out on the opportunities for real human connection that they have in front of them.
Because it's all about love and longing and how we feel about ourselves in relation to everyone else. It is accepting who you are, accepting who the other person is. And I think everybody wants that.
Cyrano!
I hope people will come away with a renewed sense of love and beauty and a resolution to tell those that they love that they do love them.